This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
If you've ever blasted synth beats from your boombox or burned CDs for your besties, this one's for you. As people get older, much like their music tastes, their health needs change. AG1 is the simple daily health drink designed to deliver over 75 essential daily nutrients and pre- and probiotics to support energy, digestion, and mood. So you can make the most out of every decade and dance break. Learn more at drinkag1.com.
Welcome to The Best Worst. It's a celebration of the best and the worst of the television we love.
Hi, I'm Meg Bashwinner.
And I'm Joseph Fink, here with a very sore neck.
Joseph fell down while running, but we also love TV. So we created this show to explore what we love about popular TV shows by watching both the IMDb viewer best rated and worst rated episodes of a quintessential series.
Because TV keeps changing, and we want to keep up with those changes by watching it with you. We follow some rules on this podcast. Each show must have at least 100 episodes so we can really get just like a big meaty stack of episodes to think about. And we exclude premieres or finales because those tend to have inflated ratings. And we also, notable for the show we're watching today, we exclude clip shows because those aren't real episodes and there's not a lot to say about them.
Yeah, hashtag not real episodes. Let's get to today's show, which when I think my millennial brain thinks my must-see TV tinged, steeped millennial brain, when I think of the most popular TV show, I think of this show.
Okay, and give it to them.
It's Friends, which ran for 10 seasons from 1994 to 2004 with 235 episodes.
What's your background with Friends?
What's my background with Friends? My background with Friends is that I watched it when it was on. I watched every single episode. It was definitely must-see TV for me. I think a good amount of my humor is influenced from watching the show. A good amount of the way that I talk is influenced from watching the show. And I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one out there.
Yeah.
There's many people who've learned to speak English from watching Friends. So I learned to speak the way I do from watching Friends, but I already spoke English. This is when we first put out The Best Worst. Hal Lublin, good friend of us, was like, well, you have to let me know when you do Friends. I want to be a guest. But we don't have guests. So you're in our hearts today, Hal. We're holding Hal Lublin space.
The way that we schedule this show is real. We make a podcast like a pickup basketball game, so we can't really bring in guests. We don't have the organization.
Yeah.
For me, Friends, I had never seen. This was like Fresh Prince. It was another one that I had not seen literally a single second of, other than probably it was like on the TV at an airport or some other public space when I was passing through, but I was not like focusing on it. This feels like a classic, like you're waiting to pick up your car from the repair place and they have a TV on. This feels like a classic, what's on that TV? In my family, I feel like this is like a trickle down from my parents. There was like a real sense that Friends was beneath us, that like Friends was a stupid show. I feel like there was a real looking down on Friends.
But you guys watched Third Rock from the Sun, which was an actually fucking stupid show.
You keep saying this. When we do Third Rock from the Sun, you'll see it's a funny show. John Lithgow, Jane Curtin.
What is French Stewart bringing to the table in that equation?
It doesn't matter. Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Okay, but everyone in Friends is bringing something to the table.
Is David Schwimmer?
Yes, David Schwimmer is bringing something to the table.
I know he's got to be the famous one, but is he that good?
They're all the famous one. They're all.
I feel like he's maybe the weak link in the performance chain, but
which is funny because they wrote the character of Ross with him in mind, and he was the first person cast, and he was like sort of the initial breakout star from it, which is weird.
He reminded me of, and I know that it is true. So I was very into How I Met Your Mother, which I always heard was a very like Friends influenced show. And watching Friends now, I'm like, oh yeah, this is the same show.
It's the hangout sitcom.
But it's like the specific style. It's the style of humor. It's the style of dialogue.
And like the time we're people in our late 20s, early 30s in New York City, and our friends are our family, and we're figuring out our life, and we're doing it all together. It's that show.
And David Schwimmer and Ted Mosby from How I Met Your Mother, they feel like the same character, and in both cases, they're the weakest link. They're kind of the like sad sack romantic guy, and they're just there to be the center around which the funny people orbit.
I don't know. I think David Schwimmer has his performance moments. And I think from having seen all of the show, I've seen the range of Ross. And I don't think that there is a performer on this show that is not excellent. And I don't think that there is a character on the show that is not written in an incredible way. And not an incredible way, but like in such a detailed way that they give them so much to do. They have so much range. They feel like real people.
Yeah. So to get back to my expectations, I didn't come in with a lot of I don't think I carried with me any sense that Friends was beneath me. That was sort of when I was a kid, that was the vibe in my family.
I think the reason you thought Friends was beneath you because it was super popular. And your vibe is always, if it's super popular, then it must suck.
Meg, I was 8. I was not, my vibe was just I didn't get to decide what was on the TV. This was not my decision to not watch Friends. This was my family's decision. And as I said, as an adult, I did not carry any real feelings one way or another about Friends. I was coming into this pretty much as a blank slate, other than knowing that it's, one of the most popular sitcoms of all time. I was very aware of in the last season or two, they were making $1 million an episode, all 6 of them. I knew about that. But it's just by the time I was an adult, when Friends was still on, it just had kind of passed me by. You don't jump into a show in its 10th season.
Yeah.
So let's get into it, because I think this might be the show we enjoyed the most so far in this entire
this had
podcast.
an effect that I did not think, because I always thought that when we would finally sit down and watch Friends, because of years of being with Joseph and having him be like, well, I've never seen Friends, and me being someone who has seen all of Friends and it's so important to me, that I was like, he's going to hate it and he's going to make fun of it, or I'm going to watch it and it's not going to hold up. But what happened was that we watched it and it was good and we laughed and now we're just watching Friends.
Not regularly, but we have been watching some Friends. I will say this, we laughed more out loud laughing in these 3 episodes than in every other sitcom we've watched for this show combined.
And there's absolutely for sure stuff in Friends that doesn't hold up, but we didn't come across in these episodes anything that was so terrifically cringy, with the exception.
There was some fat phobic stuff in one of the episodes, but other than that.
And then just the obvious, when you look at it, it is 6 white straight people.
Yeah.
And there's no body diversity, there's no age diversity. It is they are, yes. But that if you can get past all of that, then I think that largely this show does hold up.
I mean, in retrospect, it is not a surprise that I enjoyed Friends, because, as I said, Friends and How I Met Your Mother is the same show. It's just really got the same writing style. It's got the same acting style. And so I really enjoyed I was a big How I Met Your Mother fan when it was on. And so it is not surprising that I like a show that is the same show. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of shows that were sort of offspring of Friends. There's Happy Endings, there's How I Met Your Mother, there's New Girl, ones that are endeavor to be.
New Girl, I get how New Girl in concept feels is the same as Friends, but the style feels very different. Whereas How I Met Your Mother, stylistically, feels the same to me.
Yeah. The interesting thing about Friends that I think had not been done before is that there is no distinct star.
Yeah.
They decided that the writers decided that they wanted to write all 6 parts equally. So each character has their own arcs. They have their own storyline. There's no one person that the show is about. It is about all of them and their friendship.
Which is genius, because that gives you so many different ways to go. You're not stuck being okay, this is the main character, so we always have to involve them. You can combine people in all different ways. And then also, as we've discussed, the best thing in a TV show is the ensemble. The more that an ensemble is doing its thing, the better a show is. So building that from the beginning, being this is a show entirely about an ensemble, there is no star, is setting yourself up for, I think, a lot of success comedically. Let's get to the worst episode.
Let's get to the worst episode of this show, which is Season 1, Episode 21, the one with the fake Monica.
Yeah, we're in the first season, which is not surprising for a worse one. But I'll tell you, not a bad episode.
No. Yeah, no.
It's always, because we watch the worst one first, we're often coming into these shows being you go in dreading a little bit because you're I have to get through possibly some very painful television before I get to watch the show doing what it does well. But occasionally you get a show that really surprises you. And this is one where At its absolute worst rated one, not counting the like 7 clip shows, it was funny.
I remember this one from when it was on and when it was in syndication. I remember it not sticking out to me as a bad episode. I like this episode. I think it's kind of fun. We get to learn more about Monica's character by having this foil for her. So basically the description of this episode is Monica befriends the woman who stole her credit card. Ross is forced to give away Marcel the monkey, and Joey tries to come up with a less ethnic sounding stage name. So what happens is Monica realizes that her credit card's been stolen. She looks at the credit card statement and she sees that this woman is doing lots of wonderful things. Like she's taking dance classes, she's going places, she's trying new things. She's like eating at restaurants and shopping at stores, that all things that Monica like is either too afraid to or too uptight to do. And so Monica goes to the dance class just because she's like, I want to see what's up. And then when she goes to the dance class, she meets the woman who's pretending to be her and they form a friendship.
To be clear, like she didn't just steal Monica's credit card. She is going by Monica's name and has like fully stolen her identity.
Yes. But they end up going on adventures together. And then ultimately, the fake Monica gets arrested. So.
They have a final little meeting in prison. And then we have Ross and his monkey, which felt very like the show was like, oh, having a monkey on set is a bad idea. Let's get rid of this.
But I thought it was funny. They sort of play it like the monkey is old enough to go away to college, so they're applying to different zoos, and then Marcel finally gets into his dream zoo,
San Diego Zoo.
Yeah, it's a good zoo.
Yeah, one of the best zoos in the country.
Yeah,
if not the best, I'm not sure.
And then the Joey bit is just a bit. It's a
very funny bit though. So Joey is trying to find, what's Joey's last name?
Tribbiani.
Okay, so he has this very Italian last name. He's trying to find one that's a little easier for people to remember. And he comes up with...
Well, no, Chandler suggests Joe Stalin.
Well, he suggests... He just Stalin, and so Joey is like, oh, Joey Stalin. And Chandler's like, you should sound more serious. Maybe something like Joseph Stalin. And then he goes to an audition and introduces himself as Joseph Stalin. And that's the entire plotline, and it's very funny. So yeah, there's stuff going on with each character in each way. What I remember most about this one is Jennifer Aniston tap dancing. That's what I remember from it. I have in my notes that there's just straight up an entire tap number in this one. Because they go to a dance, her and Monica and fake Monica all go to a dance
Phoebe,
class.
Yeah, they all go to a dance class. And Monica is like sort of not dancing great, but Jennifer Aniston just is like, does a little tap. It's great. Crowd loves it.
I have my notes. We're actually laughing with this one. I did have the thought, because we watched, I believe, The Paper, which is the Office spinoff, right before we watched this episode. And I'm wondering whether like sort of like an opening act or a warm up, like, do you think we were like a little warmed up as part of the reason we were laughing more?
It could be. It could be that we were coming off of a sitcom that had made us laugh before.
Yeah.
So it's possible. It's also possible. For me, I was like just happy to watch you discover it and not hate it. I was so worried you were going to hate it.
What? Why would it matter? My taste is not the be all end all.
I know. It's just, yeah.
And I liked it.
Yeah.
I think it's a funny show. I don't think having a monkey was a good idea.
No.
It felt very
feels very
gimmicky.
first season. We're trying stuff out. We've got some ideas here. Let's see what sticks. And then you can talk a little bit about the creation of the show and how it was made. So this was kind of based off of experiences that the two of the three creators had of this show
of living
in New York City with their friends. And their show that they were working on got canceled. So
which I believe was Dream On,
which I've never, is it the basketball show? No,
Dream On is
California Dreams.
Dream On is an HBO show. It's an HBO sitcom. It had over 100 episodes, so we should do it. Dream On, I remember as being very hard to find because the concept of Dream On was, it's a sitcom, but the main character reacted to things by imagining old Hollywood clips. And so in every episode, there was just constantly like clips from old Hollywood movies that showed what the main character was thinking. And as you imagine, the licensing of that for like a DVD release was an absolute nightmare. And so it was very hard to, I remember like hearing about that and wanting to watch it because I'm like, oh, that sounds really interesting. And then just finding how hard it was to find.
It was their show Family Album that was canceled by CBS in 93.
But Dream On was also created by the same people.
Crane and Kaufman worked on Dream On with Kevin Bright. Yes. And so that's how Kevin Bright came on board. But yeah, Crane and Kaufman, this was based on their experience of that. They put together a 7-page treatment for NBC based on their development deal with Warner Brothers called the Insomnia Cafe. And then Warren Littlefield, who was the president of NBC Entertainment at the time, he's the guy who is making must-see TV. He is the must-see TV guy. And he was regretting passing on the black sitcom Living Single. And so he wanted a Friends show. And the scripts he was getting in were not good. But then he was impressed by the characters that came in from the pilot Insomnia, or the treatment of Insomnia Cafe. And so they bought it as a put pilot, which is a pilot that if they don't make it, it costs them a bunch of money. So basically it's the equivalency of getting a series order, but they still could back out and just pay you a fuck ton of money. So Crane and Kaufman wrote the script. They then started calling it Friends Like Us.
And then it's funny because there's ones like Seinfeld where you can see the network kind of saved it. Like the network saved them from themselves and made some very good notes. And then you have this where every note from the network was one of the worst ideas you've ever heard. Tell them the title the network wanted to use.
Well, they thought that Friends Like Us was too similar to this ABC sitcom, These Friends of Mine. So they changed the title to 6 of 1. 6 of 1,
as in half a dozen of the other. Can you imagine if Friends had been called 6 of 1? What a disaster that, it would have died.
I really do. But I think it's important. You can sort of see the development of an idea. And it's a really good lesson about the development of idea. It's sort of the Occam's razor. It's like, go with the simplest way. Yeah. You've got all these ideas. It's all bundled up. Cut it all out. What's left? Friends. Great. Perfect. It's a one-word bing.
Yeah, I feel like the titles we all remember are the ones that are just Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That's who the show's about. How I Met Your Mother. That's what the show's about. You don't have to get fancy with it.
Cheers.
Oh,
cheers. So yeah, the network also really would pick a star. But they're like, no, we want it to be equally about these 6 people, which is what makes Friends unique. And I think it's what makes Friends good. So they went away from that. The network was like, they need an older person in here.
We want an older, I think probably just demographically, they wanted to appeal to older people. And so they briefly had a character called Pat the Cop that would give them wise advice. And again, can you imagine if Friends had Pat the Cop in
NBC,
the cast?
Always trying to get some propaganda in there. Yeah, the network was like, should it be at a coffee shop? That feels too hip. Put it in a diner. But with Seinfeld's in a diner. So
I think that was very specifically because Seinfeld was in a diner. They're like, we need our Seinfeld diner.
Yeah. So, but they're like, a coffee shop is too hip. I can't imagine people hanging out at a coffee shop. So hip.
But, 1994.
Yeah. But hey, they did it. They made the show. They filmed it at Warner Brothers Studios in Burbank, where they filmed most of the show. They did some, it wasn't even location shooting. It was just, they filmed at studios in London for some of the London stuff.
Yeah, they shot in the same soundstage that after the show ended was renamed the Friends soundstage.
The Friends stage. And it was, they shot it 6 hours it took to shoot the episode, which was long. It's sort of for a 25-minute, 22-minute episode. Shooting for 6 hours is long, but they did some reshoots and some edits, and I really did respond to the live audience to change things and fix things. So back when we performed, we were on location.
Well, not on location.
We were in a studio live in front of an audience in Los Angeles, California. Or sorry, in Burbank, California.
Burbank, California. Yeah, back when shows were just made going to an office. We're going to go to work and make a show. And we're not going to have to travel to Slovakia to film on location in a street that sort of looks like America.
Yeah, we're not going to shut down an entire town, an entire city, and bring everyone in here because it's slightly cheaper so we can avoid paying health insurance for...
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever.
It's fine. The industry is dying and,
If the industry's dying and we have all of the pieces to rebuild it sitting empty here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, and all we need is a live studio audience. That's what we're missing. Some other notes I have. Harry Shearer of The Simpsons shows up, has a funny little bit as a a owner of a really exploitative sounding possible home for the monkey. I think he has a fighting ring of animals. He suggests he'll start the monkey up against a rabbit to just start him off slow. Monica drinks from the sink like me. There's a point where Monica just leans over and drinks from the sink.
She's very drunk when she does that.
Yeah. And
you do that when you're sober just because you're a cat.
Yep. They when they go to the airport to say goodbye to the monkey, they do it in the old TWA terminal that was for years, I think even when they filmed this, vacant, but is now a hotel we have stayed at a few times, the TWA Hotel.
Yeah, when they just use shot the exterior.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
But like the exterior shot, because it's a very cool looking, like old school terminal building. If you're ever in New York, I don't really recommend staying there. It's not a great place to stay, but it is a very cool place to visit.
It's a great place to stay.
They've redone the lobby like it is in like 1960s airport terminal, and so that's pretty fun. I just wrote, "This is not how you transport a monkey."
There's no way that's how you transport a monkey.
They're just like putting the monkey on the plane, like in a seat. And then it's pre 9/11, so they also get to say goodbye at the gate because it's 1994. I have one more thing, which is
one more thing.
Chandler at the beginning, when the person like brings over his coffee, he turns and says thank you. And to me, that is a real litmus test on whether someone's a good person or not. Just keep an eye on like when someone like comes and pours their water or whatever, are they thinking to say thank you and treat that person like a human being? To me, that's definitely something I keep an eye on.
And Chandler, good person.
This episode was written by Adam Chase. Friends was one of his first credited writing jobs. He wrote for the first 6 seasons on it. He's continued to work regularly since then, but weirdly, I have heard of literally none of the shows he's worked on. He's worked on Life on a Stick, Sons of Tucson, Be Positive. Genuinely, I have not heard of a single show he has worked on since Friends, and he has been like working regularly.
We're in an alternate universe.
Yeah, he traveled to a different universe after working on Friends. And I'm sure the people in that universe are like, you haven't heard of Life on a Stick? And it was directed by Gail Mancuso. She started as a TV director in the early 90s and has worked just constantly since then. Basically any sitcom you've heard of, she's probably directed on. She directed The Sex Lives of College Girls last year. She has more stuff lined up that isn't out yet. She is credited on 124 different TV shows. This woman works.
Yeah.
She does a good job.
Yeah.
You know, she knows what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on the worst?
No.
Tomorrow morning is knocking. Stock your fridge now. How about a creamy mocha frappuccino drink? Or a sweet vanilla? Smooth caramel maybe? Or a white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Find Starbucks Frappuccino drinks wherever you buy your groceries.
All right. Let's get to our intermission, which is, how's that theme song?
It's a great theme song.
Yeah. I think it's a pretty good theme song.
It's an anthem of a generation. No one told you life was going to be this way.
To me, it's when was That Thing You Do?
That Thing You Do was it 90?
Was it after this?
Let's find out.
Because I'm like, this feels like
98. Is that Thing You Do? 1996.
Okay, so after this felt very That Thing You Do to me. There's something about this that felt very like the That Thing You Do song. Just like
it drives in the same way. It has that like
the harmonies.
Yeah.
For me, this was I don't know, 7.
Yeah, I think it's an anthem of a generation. I give it a 10. I also love the credit sequence, which they shot in the fountain at Warner Brothers
at 4 a.m. on a very, very cold night.
Yeah.
And as we've watched some other ones, I've noticed, so they clearly shot just like a ton of different stuff because they're constantly changing what clips they use. And it really doesn't look like they reshot it at any point. I think just they probably shot like an hour or 2 of them fucking around in that fountain, and then they just gave them a lot of stuff to work with.
But the chemistry's there, and I think it's great.
They are not letting on how freezing they are splashing around in that water.
I think it holds up to what the show is.
The theme song was performed by the band The Rembrandts, a band best known for this theme song. The theme song, the writing of it is a little wild. There was not 1, not 2, not 3, but 5 credited lyricists. Not even getting into the music side of things. There was 5 people working on the lyrics that included the 2 creators of Friends, the 2 members of the band The Rembrandts, and a woman named Allie Willis, who wrote a number of other songs, most notably Do You Remember the 12th of September? She wrote the lyrics to that.
Yeah. So, you write a song by committee. The lyrics do feel a little bit committee.
Yeah, it's just like, at what point did they bring in a professional song? Like, did you really need a professional lyric writer for that? Like, I don't know. The music is by Michael Skloff, who is the husband of Marta Kaufman, co-creator of Friends. He is a TV composer. He worked on Dream On, which is the previous TV show they created. And I kind of assume that's where they met. I don't know that, but I'm just guessing that since they both worked on Dream On and then were married, that they probably met while working on Dream On.
Out here trying to guess how people are married. But yeah. So I guess this is our controversy section.
Oh, let's get into it.
The controversy section is that Cameron Crowe.
Oh, that's right.
Cameron Crowe claims that the idea for the show was that Warner Brothers was trying to adapt his movie Singles, and he didn't want to. And so he said that they just had Kaufman and Crane do it. But they say no. They say that this was their idea. So it's possible these two things can coexist, right? It's also at the time that NBC was sort of desperate for these hangout comedies and these Friends comedies. So there was a lot of scripts being written at the time, and a lot of them were bad. But this was sort of the one that broke through for the mandate of we're looking for a friendship comedy sitcom with Gen X people. So
yeah, I mean, I haven't seen Singles, so I don't know if they took more, but like he seems to just be trying to claim the idea of a group of friends who are roommates. And I'm sorry, Cameron, but that's not an idea. Like that's just that's a genre. And I don't think that someone else writing about a bunch of friends in a big city who are roommates is stealing your idea.
Joseph, we don't need your opinion. I'm just presenting the facts here.
I'm saying that Cameron Crowe is in the wrong here.
Do not besmirch the great name of Cameron Crowe.
Creator of your favorite movie.
Creator of my favorite movie.
Singles. You've never seen Singles.
No, I've never seen
you
Singles.
You might
either.
like it. You like his other movie.
Yeah, I do. I like a lot of his other movies.
Let's get to the best one, which is, I guess I'll say it, season 5, episode 14, the one where everybody finds out. What are they finding out?
They're finding out that Chandler and Monica are together.
Yep.
And
And then also the kind of subplot here, if I'm remembering right, is that Ross, the naked guy who lives in the apartment across from them and is always naked, is moving out. And so Ross wants his apartment and so is trying to get his apartment. At the end, he does. And then he lives in that apartment for the rest of the series.
The apartment that's across from them. Yes. So this episode received 3 nominations at the 51st Primetime Emmy Awards for Outstanding Directing, Outstanding Writing, and Outstanding Supporting Actress for Lisa Kudrow. So it's a banger of an episode. Very funny.
It is. It is just, when I saw what it was, when I saw that it was like, oh, they're finding it, I was a little worried that it was highly rated because it's like a big plot point. But no, this was just straight up a very funny episode of television.
Again, it speaks to when you have 6 characters, they're all equal footing. They all have relationships with each other in different ways. You can just keep scrambling them up and make funny stuff here. So we have in this episode, so they're finding out. And how they find out is that they're at this apartment that's across the way. And so they can see Monica and Chandler hooking up. And this is because Rachel and Joey already know, right? But this is where Phoebe finds out. And so Rachel and Phoebe go to Joey, and Joey's like, great. And Joey's been holding the secret and doesn't want to be. And so
Joey's like ready for everyone to know.
Yeah. So Joey's like, great, we can tell everyone now. And they're like, no, let's have a little fun with it because they don't know that we know. But then ultimately, pretty quickly, Chandler and Monica find out that they do know. But then Phoebe and Rachel find out that they know. So there is this, they don't know that we know that they know that we know situation.
And it all leads to Phoebe's way of screwing with them is she pretends to have a huge crush on Chandler because he'll feel awkward because he's secretly dating Monica, but then he calls her bluff. And so there is a very funny ending scene in which they are playing basically a game of sexual chicken in which they're pretending they're about to have sex with each other, but neither of them wants to be the one to call it off, and they're just gradually getting closer to having sex, and neither of them want to do it. And it's just a very funny scene.
It's very funny.
Some notes I have there. We have now our second sitcom that has a plot about someone naked across from the actually second best episode of a sitcom that has.
It was in Seinfeld as well.
Seinfeld had a naked person across. I guess maybe this is a pretty universal New York experience, especially if you live in Manhattan.
Or if you live across from me.
It's true. You were the naked person.
I'm secretly bigly naked guy.
I have that. Ross is Ted Mosby is where in this episode is where I really realized it. I'm like, oh, these are the same character. They definitely, when they wrote How I Met Your Mother, they modeled Ted Mosby 100% on Ross. It's just very clear.
It's interesting that there is this in Seinfeld. There was, when they hired the writers for Friends, they were reusing some scripts that had not made it into shows like Seinfeld.
Which I can't imagine any Seinfeld material working with these characters.
Well, it's a New York show, but like just bits and pieces here, right?
But the Seinfeld characters are so, what's the word I'm looking for? They're mean. And the Friends characters aren't. And
No.
it's just like a very different vibe.
But you can have storylines and then just, lay that on different characters and find a different way that they communicate. But if you're just looking for plot, yeah.
So Chandler and Monica know there is an apartment across the way in which you can be easily seen, and they know that they're going to look at that apartment. Why would they have sex against the window?
They're that horny for each other,
That's just a question I had.
They're just blinded by the horniness.
I have the note that Rachel finally has the Rachel.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the Rachel?
The Rachel haircut, the first season is when it first happened.
No, with some of the first season stuff we watched, she had a very different haircut.
But I think they talk about, I saw online what episode the Rachel haircut premiered. Let me look it up.
In the one we watched from the first season, which was towards the end, she did not have the Rachel. She was doing something else.
Yeah. It's important that I know what episode the Rachel haircut.
In the meantime, I'm just going to note that this is the episode that had some fat jokes.
Yes.
The naked guy's fat, and they're like, isn't it funny that he's fat? So that was kind of the one thing here that really didn't hold up.
So the Rachel haircut premiered in the episode called The One with the Evil Orthodontist. It was in the first season.
But when did it become like a cultural phenomenon?
I'm on the Wikipedia page for the Rachel. Hang on. It doesn't want to go.
I also will say that in my notes, I just noted that this show made me really want to watch How I Met Your Mother, because it does just feel like the same show, like a continuation of Friends. This episode really showed the value of a live audience, because there's an interesting moment. So there's a moment where Phoebe is trying to figure out how to up the tension in the game of sexual chicken so that Chandler will finally fold, and Joey suggests showing him her bra because that'll get him real horny, and also he's like weird about bras. And Joey reaches out and in like a single smooth motion opens her blouse, and the crowd goes crazy. And then he's like, it's not the first time I've done that. And they laugh really hard. And it's kind of, you can feel a lot of energy, and it's not clear why. And the reason is because that was like something like the 43rd time they had tried. He could not get that blouse open. And so there was like such a cheer of relief when he finally opened the blouse, and then also it made the line, "That's not my first time," very funny, because it was his 43rd time. And it's the kind of energy you can't get without a live audience.
Oh, well, speaking about the live audience, Marta Kaufman talks about how when they were filming in London in front of the studio audience there, they had such a big reaction to Monica and Chandler sleeping together that it sort of inspired that relationship. They were like, the audience is going crazy for this. Let's explore what that is. And then ultimately they end up getting married. So
it's interesting that that's in London, because so we've done a lot of touring live theater. We've toured many places, including London. And I remember a thing about London is audiences in the UK in general are just way more expressive than audiences in the US. Like in audiences in London, the UK is where we had like actual, what's the word for it, where they call you back to the stage?
Second curtain calls.
We had second curtain calls that were like genuinely like we left and they were still applauding, so we came back out. That never happened in the US. The UK is the first time we heard a crowd like stomping on the ground along with applauding. So it doesn't surprise me that like the London live audience was way more expressive and kind of gave them some thoughts, because it just seems like the UK, it's, stereotypically a more buttoned up culture, but it feels like the culture of the theater audience is way more expressive there.
Yeah. I mean, they come from the culture of the Globe Theater and the Groundlings. It's in their bones to be rowdy.
Yeah. They're a rowdy people. That's all I have on the best one. We laughed a lot. Like that final scene, especially with Phoebe and Chandler, was just like such classic comedy.
And then there's also this sort of really sweet revelation at the end that it's not just that they're screwing. Monica and Chandler are not just having sex, but that they're in love with each other. And so,
which Chandler accidentally, he's like, I just didn't want to tell everyone that I was in love with her, or something like that. And it's the first time Monica has heard that.
And then, of course, I think it's a post-credit scene. Because the Monica's like, well, please don't tell Ross. And then Ross sees them across the window, and he's like showing it's a long story, but Ross is on sabbatical from work because of the thing that happened. And anyway, so Ross is supposed to not have rage, and he's trying to demonstrate to his boss that he no longer has rage. And he takes him to his apartment, and he shows him his new apartment. And then while he's showing his boss the apartment, he sees Chandler and Monica hooking up through the window, and he just screams. Like the rage comes back, and he's screaming, "Get off my sister!"
Which does, apparently in a later episode, you find out he did get fired from that job as a result. You love a continuity.
Yeah.
Now that we've watched Friends, now that we've friended, how are you friending?
I still feel good about it.
Do you feel any different?
I do feel a little different about it just because of all of the water that has got under the bridge of Friends. So yeah, it was a really important show to me. It remains a really important show to me. I think it did a lot. It was an anchor of must-see TV. It was an anchor of the modern day hangout sitcom. It was groundbreaking in the way that it created its ensemble. It was groundbreaking in the way that it paid its actors.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely not one where, like, watching it, none of these people, to my knowledge, turned out to be monsters. They all seem like pretty good people. I mean, Matthew Perry, it had a very kind of sad life, but not like one that feels like any of these people were secretly bad people.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have any of that shadow over it. They all felt like they were just, good comedy performers who got lucky and then got very famous as a result.
Yeah, and they had an incredible bond.
Well, it's the old thing of like, there's that famous anecdote that who knows whether it's true, but it's like the Beatles talking about how lucky they were to have had 4 of them versus Bob Dylan, who got equally famous but on his own, or like Elvis. When you have no one else, it can be really hard. But if there's 4 of you, or with friends, 6 of you, you have like a little bit of bubble of reality to bounce off of outside of the fame.
They also had collective bargaining, which is how they ended up at $1 million each an episode, and how they ended up with back end. They give 2% back end on the syndication rates, like in perpetuity. So that's the figures that I saw was it's $20 million per actor per year, just based on syndication.
Which because I feel like Friends, like Seinfeld, is one of those shows that every few years another streaming network pays some outrageous amount to get the rights to.
Yeah, but Julia Louis-Dreyfus is not getting back end. Jerry Seinfeld's getting back end, but
she's not getting back end?
She might be getting something, but she's not getting... It was sort of groundbreaking to give back end to people who weren't creators of the show or who weren't like named, Jerry Seinfeld, right?
I guess that's the power of not having a star, because in theory, Jerry Seinfeld, although the least funny person on that show, was the star, whereas this one, none of them were.
Well, and they collectively bargained. Like the first season, they were all paid different amounts, and then I think they were paid different amounts again, and then they all got together and they're like, nope. Warner Brothers absolutely did not want that to happen. No one ever wants to work with the union, right? So, but the 6 of them came together and they were like, I think they agreed. Some people had to agree to take less so that others could get more, and they all had the same salary for the rest of the show from that point out.
For myself, I went from a complete blank slate to like, yeah, this is a good show. This is a show I enjoyed. I laughed a lot, and it reminded me of one of my favorite shows when I was younger, How I Met Your Mother, which I had like just moved to New York when that came out. So it was like kind of right time in my life to like really be something that meant something to me. And so it brought up a lot of warm feelings. To the question of would we keep watching it? We already have.
We are. Yeah.
It's like not a show where
we're not binging it, but like,
because like The Sopranos, we have straight up just continued to watch. Whereas Friends, we've watched like a few. You've shown me a few more of your favorites. Your favorite episode is always the one where they play a game. This is what I've learned. I mean, I'm two different sitcoms. It's Always Sunny and Friends. Both of them. Your favorite one is the one where they play a game. You're a lover of game shows.
I love that task-based theater.
Yeah, Friends, good. This is like one I don't think we're gonna binge it, but I imagine I will watch most of this show through the course of my life. I feel like this is one where I'm like, if I'm on an airplane or I'm working out or whatever, we're having lunch and there's nothing else on, this feels like a show that we'll probably be on. Any other thoughts on Friends?
Thank you all so much. Thanks for being our friend.
Thank you for being, because we didn't know that life would turn out this way.
Yeah.
A lyric written by 5 people.
Yeah. And this goes out to all the people who were our friends when we were in New York City in our 20s.
It's true. Like, I mean, we were 20-somethings in New York City who had a close group of friends that we saw all the time. We lived that, and it was nothing like this, but it was its own very special thing.
Yeah, our apartment was way worse. That's one of the big critiques of this show.
So much worse.
Is that like, how do they have these apartments? Well, they have these apartments because they had to get lighting and set and an audience in them, and they had to have playing space. So that's why they're so big. Come off it. It's TV.
Yeah. Whereas versus Seinfeld, that kind of tried to do a realistic New York apartment, and as the result, it was like a pain to shoot in.
Yeah, they could barely even walk around that set.
Okay, so let's give them our next show, which we're very excited about.
When You Walk Through the Garden.
When You Walk Through the Garden.
Which is not the name of the show. The name of the show is The Wire.
The Wire, along with The Sopranos, often named as a contender for best TV show of all time. Certainly, for me, one of the best I've ever seen.
We love David Simon shows.
Yeah.
And it's time for us to get to treat ourselves by getting to do one of them.
Yeah. I'll say that, like, I think for David Simon shows, The Wire might be our favorite, but I feel like Treme and The Deuce were both kind of also equally enjoyable.
I celebrate the entire collection, the entire triumvirate of those three shows.
Every time, there was that recent one he did about cops that was kind of too depressing to watch.
Yes.
We never got through
Treme,
that.
The Deuce, and The Wire.
Yeah, all three of those are. If you're one of the people who enjoyed The Wire but never got around to Treme, get around to Treme.
Treat yourself
it's a
to a little
beautiful
Treme.
show.
There ain't nothing fucking else on TV.
But yeah, this is what I'm excited about. This is like, we kind of were saving it a little bit because this is one that I think we're just going to enjoy all three episodes quite a lot. I can't imagine the worst episode of The Wire is not an incredible episode of television. They never really got bad. Thank you so much. Check out our Patreon only show, The Middleist, where we will be discussing the exact Middleist rated episode to see what the show looked like when everything was exactly average. What is that episode?
It's the one where Rachel is late, which I don't remember what the
Season 8, episode 22.
Season 8, episode 22, the one where Rachel's late.
Rachel's Prego, and it's not coming out in time. Find out more on our Middleist.